Want to know the secrets of a man who started with nothing? A man who mastered his ability to focus and in turn became one of the richest men in history. In this video, we'll explore who Andrew Carnegie was and how he established himself throughout the 19th century. In addition, we'll dive into Carnegie's mind and uncover the prosperous methods which led him to a net worth of $480 million. Watch on to find out how to implement Carnegie's secret sauce into your life. We'll reveal all the secrets that helped an ordinary individual just like you and me reach the peak of personal growth. Who was Andrew Carnegie? Andrew Carnegie was born in Dunfermline, Scotland in 1835. He would immigrate to the United States with his family in 1848 as his parents sought to reap the benefits of the American dream. But it would be for Andrew himself that such dreams would come to be. By the age of 12, school was well and truly out for Carnegie. He took up a job in a cotton factory while simultaneously educating himself when the chance arose. By 14, a pivotal moment in the young man's life surfaced. He became a messenger in the telegraph office and began to implement the very strategies he used to make millions. But we'll get to that later. Carnegie embraced his role, and through his hard work and dedication, he soon caught the eye of none other than Thomas Scott. Scott, at the time, was superintendent at the Pennsylvania Railroad Company. He saw great potential in Carnegie and somewhat took him under his wing. Soon, Carnegie would become Scott's personal telegrapher, laying down the foundations to his rapid rise to the top. But before we progress, it's important to unpick the mind of a young Carnegie to uncover how he rose so swiftly. In his later years, Carnegie stated, "My hopes were high, and I looked every day for some change to take place. What it was to be I knew not, but that it would come I felt certain if I kept on. One day, the chance came." Through these uplifting words, we are brought into the mind of a young, unsuccessful, but determined Carnegie. The nature of this extraordinary man is on show. The uncertainty of what was to be left him unfazed. He backed himself with assurance and stayed hopeful at every turn. The sheer mental discipline at a young age is astounding. He would call this to feel the future in an instant. Moreover, as he began to program his mind from a young age, Carnegie aimed to take more responsibility at every turn. He always trusted his own capabilities. This was key in his progression while working for the Pennsylvania Railroad Company, where in just 6 years he went from personal telegrapher to superintendent, succeeding his mentor, Thomas Scott. Interestingly, before his promotion to superintendent, Andrew Carnegie would assume the role of boss when Scott was away, a method Carnegie credits for his fast rise. Before we move on to how his vast wealth was accumulated, we must look into the principles of success that Carnegie credits. It all has to do with mindset. The first of Carnegie's principles of success is creative vision. Within this, a hugely beneficial piece of advice is given: remove all limitations from the mind. At first, one can feel that such a task is unattainable, impossible. But Carnegie, before many others, understood that he could train his brain daily to eliminate such thought, to act as if there were no limitations, and then soon it would come to be. Another keynote from his idea of creative vision was to recognize opportunities favorable to his own advancement and go the extra mile under all circumstances. Once Carnegie got his first promotion, he offered to start right on the spot. Similarly, during his first telegraph role, he memorized the names and faces of all his customers in order to create a great rapport. Now, Andrew Carnegie's second heading in his principles of success is named Organized Thought. This is where Carnegie truly homes in on the mindset. His purpose for this is to cite that any individual is capable of implementing this successfully. Within this, Carnegie states that one must become the master of their own mind. This means one must be void of procrastination and stimulate the subconscious mind. What does it mean to stimulate the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is the part of the mind that doesn't sit in the focal seat of awareness. It's a hugely powerful system that allows us to function in life. Stimulating the subconscious mind was vital to Carnegie's prolonged success, as it can influence behavior without him realizing or having to remember, operating on autopilot, if you will. On a similar note, Carnegie puts much focus on self-reliance. This relates to the decisions he made, but also trusting the sound mind. While Carnegie was in the beginning stages of his career as superintendent, he invested into the Woodruff Sleeping Car Company. It didn't stop here. Investments were made across the board, including the Keystone Bridge Company. By the time he reached his 30th birthday, Carnegie was making an annual income of around $50,000. That's the equivalent purchasing power to $1.7 million in today's climate. The third and final principle of success that Andrew Carnegie discusses is controlled attention. A quote borrowed from Carnegie himself best explains this. Controlled attention magnetizes the brain with nature of one's dominating thoughts, aims, and purposes, thus causing one to be always in search of everything necessary that is related to one's dominating thoughts. We can see the pattern of this through Carnegie's progression to the eventual establishment of the Carnegie Steel Company, which is the very company he would sell to J.P. Morgan in 1901 for a humongous $480 million. The examples of Carnegie's controlled attention can be tracked from the moment he became superintendent to the moment he established the steel company. He began with various investments in iron mills, rail mills, even oil fields. Trips were taken to Europe, particularly Britain, where he met with steelmakers. It's important to note that Britain was the leading steel producer during this time, until 1890 when America surpassed their production, largely credited to Carnegie. By 1865, Carnegie was managing Keystone Bridge Company, and under 10 years later, he solely began concentrating on steel. With the establishment of the J. Edgar Thomson Steel Works, eventually named Carnegie Steel Company, he had spent all his time leveraging his mind toward the one thing he wanted to achieve. Over many years, he had not faltered, reversed his goals, or questioned his strategies. Andrew Carnegie mastered the ability to keep his mind focused and attentive. He was even able to make sure his steel company prospered during the Great Depression in 1892. It's a timely moment to mention Carnegie's secret sauce, the very secret that allowed him to gain his riches. Once Carnegie was well established and hugely wealthy within a short period, people's suspicions arose. The ears of government officials were pricked, and soon an investigation was launched. Even the United States Senate commissioned Carnegie. They interrogated him, but found nothing was wrong. Upon continued questioning, Carnegie famously stated, "I can keep my mind focused on something for 5 minutes at a stretch. Can you do that?" The people in his company heard this and assumed it was a joke, but Carnegie started an experiment on the officials. He learned that no one could focus their mind on anything for longer than 10 seconds. Andrew Carnegie was one of the few who stabled, controlled, and mastered the restless mind. His huge success in life is almost solely credited to his ability to pay attention. He was true in harmony with his mind. This unlocked the world for Carnegie. This is why Andrew Carnegie was truly an extraordinary individual. After he sold his company to J.P. Morgan, he retired and gave all his efforts to philanthropy. During this time, Carnegie provided funds to over 2,800 libraries, stretching as far as New Zealand. He believed self-made men like himself had a duty to share his wealth in a smart manner. During his philanthropy years, he supported arts, education, and international relations. Before he died, he had given away more than $350 million. The story of Andrew Carnegie and his incredible ability to control his mind must serve as an example that any man, woman, or child can implement the same method he used to become extraordinary. He became an individual who manifested his desires and ultimately achieved them. Every day he focused his mind into the direction he wanted to take, a form of meditation that served his best interest. He is truly the epitome of the American dream, a son of a Scottish migrant who undertook odd jobs before creating one of the most successful business empires of all time. His purpose from the start was not to earn tons of money. His prosperity occurred from his love and interest in his work. Andrew Carnegie's advice to all is as follows. The way to become rich is to put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket.